by Tariq Ali, narrated by A.M. Rodriguez. Shiba Kai walked confidently into my personal library, looking forward to the next mission. I put down the book that I was reading and turned my attention to Asako Kosuke's notes. After exchanging the routine pleasantries, I immediately began the briefing. There was no point wasting any time. Asako Kosuke had been monitoring the Aimi, a secretive moon cult located within Shiroshiba. The cult had some eccentric beliefs, but was otherwise orthodox. Recently, though, the cult crossed an invisible line. They denounced the celestial order, thereby turning into a heretical force. Kosuke could directly purge the heretics, but doing so would alienate the other moon cults operating within Shiroshiba. Therefore, it is up to Kai to quietly take down the Aimi. Kai looked at me quizzically. She had eccentric beliefs too, yet she had not yet fallen into heresy. Therefore, she asked me to explain why the Aimi took the path they had. I quickly scanned Kosuke's notes and, without emotion, began reading. The Elemental Council is unable to solve the elemental imbalance. They have proven themselves incompetent and must be destroyed. A new council should be created, one that draws its legitimacy from Lord Moon himself. I tossed the notes aside and sighed. You know how it is. Humans justifying their greed on the basis of high-minded morals. We've seen this type of nonsense before, and we'll see it again and again. Kai smiled. At least it's good job security. She laughed at an implied joke. I didn't find it funny. How many cultists? I looked back at the notes and furiously flipped pages back and forth. Kai quietly observed my panic. Approximately 200 courtiers and 70 Sugenja. They plan to use political intrigue to take down the Elemental Council, so they don't have anyone specialized in violence. Kai stared at me in bemusement, listening to me rattle off meaningless facts. So, Kosuke expects me to murder nearly 300 samurai, while not making a bloody mess in the process? Kai shook her head in disgust. Isawa Hifume, there's an easier way to get rid of this cult. Which is? Fixing the elemental imbalance. I glared at Kai. There are limits to what we can do. I hate these limits just as much as you do, but we have to do our duty and pray that other people do their duty. We continued our discussion. I focused on Kosuke's limited intelligence regarding the cult, and Kai just shook her head in disbelief. Kai's brute force techniques aren't well suited to fighting the Aimi. She is used to fighting more militant movements, especially those that recruit from the peasantry. Still, I know Kai won't abandon her duty. She knew a skilled emerald magistrate named Shiba Yohana. Kai promised to recruit her, on the condition that I did not inform Kosuke of this arrangement. I did not like it. Kosuke's inspections guarantee orthodoxy within our ranks. To skip them is to invite danger. If Johanna was to join Kosuke's operation, she must be inspected first. Kai shrugged. Oh well. Do you have anyone else who could take down the Aimi instead? She smiled. It was clever. Kai knows full well that I have no one else. All of my manpower is stuck fighting other heretical organizations throughout the Empire. The Summoners, the Gatherers, Shuns, Infiltrators. I can rattle off 20 names, but all that does is just prove how impotent I am against the tide of heresy. You will work with Johanna on a strictly unofficial basis. Monitor Johanna's actions carefully. You're responsible for anything that goes wrong. Kai nodded, as if she expected my answer. After some parting words, Kai bowed and left my presence. A new day arrived, the same as every other day. I made it to my personal library, where 3 unopened letters awaited me. I sat down, making sure I was not being observed, and slowly opened each scroll. The first letter was from Shiba Kai. She had successfully briefed Johanna about the current situation. Johanna, in response, suggested infiltration and subversion of the Aimi. Kai has approved this arrangement, and we should be able to see results soon. The second letter was from Asako Kosuke. He asked for help against the peasant-based Bloodspeaker cult that has been conducting blood sacrifices near Shiroshiba. So far, all victims are members of the Aimi. There's probably some feud between the two heretical factions. If the two sides weaken each other severely, perhaps we can then move in for the killing blow. I forwarded Kosuke's letter to Kai. The third letter was from Empress Hochiahime herself. An ancestor of mine, whose name I do not wish to recall, served Hantai the 16th, the steel chrysanthemum. After Hantai the 16th died, the ancestor begged for forgiveness and wanted to make amends. The new Empress of Rokugan, the honored wife of Hantai the 17th, spared my ancestor, and thus saved my lineage from probable extermination. In return, my lineage owed the Imperials a life debt. Empress Hochia Hime has called in that life debt. Hochia Hime has instructed me and the rest of my lineage to discreetly prepare an expedition to travel to a new land. This expedition is essential to the preservation of the Empire, and so we would have to uproot our samurai, our servants, our peasants, our aides, our goods. The Empress's letter ended with these words: "Finish all affairs you have in Rokugan, because I do not know when you will be coming back." Questions circled around me, but no easy answers presented themselves. Why do we need to explore new land, when we're not even able to handle our own affairs on this land? We can't even handle the elemental imbalance. Does she think we can handle reestablishing a new society from scratch, shorn of our traditional foundations? Then my mind wandered to another thought. This is a chance to start anew. People turn to heresy because they are not satisfied with the status quo and they look for alternative approaches. Shibakai is right. If you want to stop heresy, you fix the social problems that cause heresy. Yet, we lack the authority and the resources to fix these social problems. All we can do is fight the symptoms, but we can never deal with the root causes. This new land, it gives me something that I thought died in my youth: hope. We might actually build a new society free from heresy, a land where the celestial order is kept intact, a land where we might lose our old duties and find new, more fulfilling ones. That is something worth fighting for. My lineage, however, is very weak. It may be well respected within the Asawa family for their tireless defense of orthodoxy, but it will always be marginalized in the affairs that matter. If I am to build a society free from heresy, I will need to invite people outside of my lineage, people who I can trust, like Shibakai and Asoko Kosuke. In my personal library, Kai politely brought me good news. Johanna has successfully dismantled the Aimi. Shiba Johanna conducted her own inspections in Shiroshiba, though they are less professional than Asako Kosuke's. These inspections were not long interrogational sessions. They were more akin to casual conversations. These conversations would be about unrelated topics like the weather or architecture, but they delved into the secrets of the spirit nonetheless. Her tactics worked. Johanna was able to quickly identify a few high-ranking Aimi contacts and gain their trust. Johanna then converted to the moon cult, promising to aid the heretics in battle against the peasant blood speakers. Once inside the cult, she quickly discovered a power struggle between two of the cult leaders. Johanna then magnified this power struggle, turning it into a full-blown civil war. The Aimi imploded in just a few weeks. None of the other moon cults suspect the thing. To them, it is simply natural for power-hungry individuals to turn on each other. Unfortunately, the peasant blood speakers are left unharmed. They're still out there, without the Aimi to keep them in check. That is a problem for others to address, I suppose. My concerns lie elsewhere. If a person needs to embrace heresy to stop heresy, there is no need for me to contemplate that sentence. When one elaborates on the nature of a victory, one begins to find minor imperfections and faults. Enough imperfections and faults in the victory becomes indistinguishable from a defeat. It was necessary, Shibakai told me firmly. But I will promise you this. I will not utilize her tactics excessively. Overuse can lead to negative consequences, such as unwanted attention from Kosuke or from the kami. I nodded. Such a promise would have to do, for now. The time had come to inform Kai to give her a new mission objective. I told Kai about Empress Hochia Hime's letter. I've already convinced Asako Kosuke to assist me. Kosuke has, therefore, dissolved his operation. Most of his people were reassigned to the Empress's expedition, while the remainder would be transferred to other Inquisitors' operations. This was a hard decision for Kosuke to make, but the Empress willed it so. To denounce her decision, to denounce the Celestial Order itself. I will naturally serve as the expedition head. Kosuke, meanwhile, will serve as our High Inquisitor and handle the expedition's internal affairs. I invited Kai to serve as our general, to protect the expedition from any external threats. Kai eagerly accepted her new duty. She jumped excitedly at the opportunity to face a new challenge, but she also seemed worried about our lack of experience in facing said challenge. "Did the Empress explain to you why we're leaving Rokugan?" Shibakai asked directly. I did not reply. I do not know. Kai offered me an answer, found, where all answers may be found, at Starry Heaven Sanctuary, home of the Ishikin, Masters of the Void. When we made it to the Starry Heaven Sanctuary, we requested an audience with the Void Sugenja. Most ignored us, coming up with feeble excuses, unwilling to meet my eyes. But one of the holy masters, Isawa Atsuko, was willing to talk to me. She requested a private audience, away from the ears of Shibakai. As instructed, I met her in a private room. She made me swear an oath of secrecy. Most humans lose hope when they're exposed to the truth. Then she told me everything. I disbelieved at first. Visions can be misinterpreted after all. But when I raised that valid point, she only asked me, "Why do you disbelieve?" Because if what you say is true, then that would mean the Rokugani Empire would die, and I could say nothing more. Moments passed. She offered comfort and told me to face adversity with dignity. I smiled and I said I understood, but I do not accept this. I cannot accept this is the end of the Empire. Shibakai and I left Starry Heaven Sanctuary without speaking a word to each other. Before I received this accursed letter from the Empress, I was a famous teacher. And yet, all of my teachings rested on a fundamental principle, one never articulated but also never questioned. I thought the Empire was immortal. Mere mortals could die, even Kami could die. But the Empire itself would still stand. No matter how much we as individuals suffer, no matter what sacrifices we make, the Empire will maintain the celestial order perpetually, backed by the favor of the celestial heavens. The Empire had to be immortal. To claim otherwise is to claim that the celestial heavens' favor is weak and impermanent. To claim otherwise is to claim that everything that we have fought for would eventually fade away into nothingness. The truth hurts. The Empire will fall. When is irrelevant? How is irrelevant? Those are just meaningless details, details that distract from the horror of oblivion. What matters is that the heavens have offered a plan that will keep the core, what is essential about our empire, alive, even as everything else collapses. This new land is a part of that plan. No Ishikin is ever going to join this expedition. They need to use their talents to protect Rokugan and delay its inevitable fall. This can only buy us time to establish ourselves. Perhaps there may come a time when the expedition will return and restore the Empire. Ha! There's no solace in that. If an empire can die once, then it can die again and again and again. Are we Rokugani going to keep funding new expeditions and finding new lands forever? Is the Empire trapped in an endless cycle of death and rebirth? No, I refuse to lose hope. I prayed to the Kami to guide me through these difficult times and protect me from heresy. But now I have my purpose. I summoned Shibakai and tried to explain, but I will not violate the oath that I swore to the Ishikin. Instead, I gave a parable. Each day we fight a battle against heresy, like a sailor gambling on fortunes and winds. We succeed, but there's always another fight. One day, no matter how many successes we have, we will lose the toss of the dice. We will be defeated. It is not enough to keep gambling. If we want to end heresy forever, if we really want to protect the Empire, then we have to stop playing. We have to end the game. No matter what methods we consider, no matter the cost. Kai was wary. "So what's your plan?" Kai asked hesitantly, as if she already knew what I would do. I stayed silent for a few moments before I made my confession to Kai. I have no plans, only determination. To Isawa Hifumi, Phoenix Clan's expedition head. Shiba Yohana has just given me the good news. She has passed Asako Kosuke's inspection, meaning that she can now officially join the expedition. Kosuke is assured of her orthodoxy. If anything, she seems more orthodox than Kosuke. I'm not sure what you said to her, but I think she's devoted to your vision now. I thought Johanna was irredeemable, that her beliefs would never gain Kosuke's approval. You have proven me wrong. For that, I am grateful. You took a great deal of interest in Shiba Johanna after that incident at the Starry Heaven Sanctuary. You needed an assay who could do the dishonorable thing. I understand completely. Shiba Kai, General of the Phoenix Clan's Expedition Militia. To Isawa Hifumi, Phoenix Clan's Expedition Head. Asako Kosuke has vetted all the candidates thoroughly, screening out those who he found to harbor blasphemous or heretical thoughts. As per your instructions, Shiba Johanna has also vetted the candidates for their competence and survival skills. Kosuke greatly appreciated her valuable assistance during the vetting process, but has kept Johanna's role to a minimum. Johanna has also established a preparation camp and is training our volunteers. You should see some of her lectures. They're interesting. By the end of this month, we will travel to Jukamimura and begin our journey. May the kami bless our voyage. Shiba Kai, General of the Phoenix Clan's Expedition Militia. To Isawa Hifumi, Phoenix Clan's Expedition Head. Shiba Johanna has successfully acquired a stockpile of supplies, which will enable us to build a decent settlement. The supplies are currently being transported to the preparation camp. Johanna, however, is exceeding the limits imposed on her by Kosuke. She has gone so far as to recommend removing certain individuals from the expedition for having, quote-unquote, insufficient zeal. Monomaniacal dedication is not good for morale. I recommend you intervene to stop Johanna's radicalism. Shiba Kai, General of the Phoenix Clan's Expedition Militia. To Isawa Hifumi, Phoenix Clan's Expedition Head. I visited the preparation camp today and saw Shiba Johanna training peasants, creating what seems to me to be a private army. When I questioned her, she claimed it was under your orders. They were to infiltrate the other clans to spy on them and gather information on their beliefs. Asako Kosuke's customary inspections, but on a mass scale. Is this true? Do you plan on using these techniques on every Rokugani? If so, please reconsider. No matter the reduction in heresy, no matter how much it ward off the enemies of the Empire, the drawbacks are extreme. We are meant to be the moral guardians of Rokugan, to ensure that we do not abuse our position for selfish ends. We have placed restrictions upon ourselves. Do not violate our traditions, simply because you consider them inconvenient. Shiba Kai, General of the Phoenix Clan's Expedition Militia. To Shiba Kai, my friend. Kai, you're a bastion of traditionalism. It is why I brought you into the expedition, but it turns out that traditionalism is not going to work when fighting against heresy. Tradition may help us live for a few centuries, maybe even a millennia or two. But that's not enough. Tradition can postpone heresy. Tradition can delay its awakening. Yet tradition will not stop heretical movements. If we allow heresy to fester, then the expedition will eventually fail. And I won't let it fail. So I've taken a risk. Due to circumstances outside of my control, I am revoking your title of general. Shiba Johanna will take over the expedition militia. You will serve under her for the time being. I am sorry. I don't want to do this to a good friend of mine. But when you are fighting a war, you must be willing to do whatever it takes. Isawa Hifumi, Phoenix Clan's Expedition Head, Protector of Tomorrow. To Isawa Hifumi, Phoenix Clan's Expedition Head. Heretics do not scare me. Heretics can never take away the accomplishments of our ancestors and will never demean our own personal struggles. If we can make the heretics' lives more difficult, even just for one more day, then there is nothing for us to fear. You scare me. I do not think highly of the choices of heretics, but I once thought highly of you. That perception has now been corrected. If you suggest abandoning the traditions of the past, then I must reluctantly oppose you and your puppet, Shiba Yohana. I won't disobey your orders, but I will not let you corrupt the expedition. Shiba Kai, General of Phoenix Clan's Expedition Militia. I silently archived Kai's letter. She may rage on paper, but she will not stop me.
Emerald Legacy is a fan-driven project. It is not endorsed, sanctioned, or in any other way supported directly or indirectly by Asmodee International, Fantasy Flight Games, or Edge Studios. Stories are protected under a Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. The music in this production is Cambodian Odyssey by Kevin MacLeod. To support this project, please visit patreon.com/emeraldlegacy.